share that?
For me, I feel this is more of a self motivation book. So the name itself, I just like the name. I don't know anything about the author or the book as such. Actually, never heard of it before you posted it in the poll. So for me, it is more of it. The name seems to be more of like the mountain is you. So basically, it's like how to be like a mountain, and maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to it. Curious.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I also had a similar background where I selected with the name, but yeah, I gave it a meaning that um, the mountain is you means probably she's going to talk about how we ourselves are in the way of our own success, and we our own beliefs, how they stop us from succeeding in life. So something around that and some uh, motivation around that. So that is where I picked this up.
Right, right. Anyone else?
Maybe our problems are our mountains which we have to traverse. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
Manaselvi, for me, yeah, I just seen the topic this morning. I think I thought initially that afternoon we will use that. We'll take up that idiot wala book. Lekin Mansi, please do the recording for morning session as well. If you pick that one for the morning session. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we are doing recordings now for all
please. Huh.
the readings
Awesome.
that we do.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So Mansavi, very interesting. Let's see how this brings books brings wisdom to us. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. So, yes, actually, even I have not read the book. I have gone through the, just the gist. It has been highly recommended to me, and I also, got couple of recommendation from couple of different peoples and sources like news articles. So that's the reason I picked up this book. So, having said this, let's start. Any people who aspire to be writers, any book lovers also will like the language, I guess, because the the person is actually qualified as a writer, and the 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 way she has written is, many people seem to resonate, and they like the style of writing. Yeah. So I'll start reading, and maybe people can take up next. Yeah. So
So
introduction.
whoever wants to read next, just put your names in the chat box so we can follow the order and we know who all are interested also. We can get the count also so we can read accordingly. Yeah, Manisali, please.
So introduction. Much like nature, life is very often working in our favor, even when it seems like we are only being faced with adversity, discomfort, and change. As forest fires are essential to the ecology of the environment, opening new seeds that require heat to sprout and rebuild a population of trees, our minds also go through periodic episodes of positive disintegration or a cleansing through which we release and renew our self concept. We know that nature is most fertile and expansive at its perimeters, where climates meets, and we also transform when we reach our edge states, the points at which we are forced to step out of our comfort zone and regroup. When we can no longer rely on our coping mechanisms to help distract us from the problems in our lives, it can feel as though we are hit rock bottom. The reality is that this sort of awakening is what happens when we finally come to terms with the problems that have existed for a long time. The breakdown is often just the tipping point that precedes the breakthrough, the moment a star implodes before it becomes a supernova.
Maniselvi, are we sharing the screen or
I have shared the
it is?
screen.
But
Is
I
it not
don't
It,
visible?
see.
it is
Yes, it
shared.
is visible.
Me.
Visible for everyone.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Just as a mountain is formed when two sections of the ground are forced against one another, your mountain will arise out of coexisting but conflicting needs. Your mountain requires you to reconcile two parts of you, the conscious and the unconscious. The part of you that is aware of what you want, and the part of you that is not aware of why you are still holding yourself back. Historically, mountains have been used as metaphors for spiritual awakenings, journeys of personal growth, and of course, insurmountable challenges that seem impossible to overcome when we are standing at the bottom. Like so much of nature, mountains provides us with an inherent wisdom about what it will take to rise up to our highest potential. The objective of being human is to grow. We see this reflected back to us in every part of life. Species reproduce, DNA evolves to eliminate certain strands and develop new ones, and the edges of the universe are expanding forever outward. Likewise, our ability to feel the depth and beauty of life is capable of expanding forever inward if we are willing to take our problems and see them as catalysts. Forests need fire to do this. Volcanoes need implosions. Stars need collapse. And human beings often need to be faced with no other option but to change before they really do. To have a mountain in front of you does not mean you are fundamentally broken in some way. Everything in nature is imperfect, and it is because of that imperfection that growth is possible. If everything existed in uniformity, the gravity that created the stars and planets and everything that we know would not exist. Without breaks, faults, and gaps, nothing could grow and nothing would become. The fact that you are imperfect is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you are human, and more importantly, it is a sign that you still have more potential within you. Maybe you know what your mountain is. Maybe it's addiction, weight, relationships, jobs, motivation, or money. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's a vague sense of anxiety, low self esteem, fear, or a general discontentment that seems to bleed out onto everything else. The mountain is often less a challenge in front of us as it is a problem within us. An unstable foundation that might not seem evident on the surface but is nonetheless shifting almost every part of our lives. Usually, when we have a problem that is circumstantial, we are facing the reality of life. When we have a problem that is chronic, we are facing the reality of ourselves. We often think that to face a mountain means to face life's hardships, but the truth is that it is almost always because of the years we have spent accumulating tiny traumas, adaptations, and coping mechanisms, all of which have compounded over time. Your mountain is the block between you and the life you want to live. Facing it is also the only path to your freedom and becoming. You are here because a trigger showed you to your wound, and your wound will show you to your path, and your path will show you to your destiny. Anyone would like to continue from here?
Yeah, we have names. I think Krishna has written his name. Tasneem and Krishna. Saurabh. Saurabh, Tasneem, and Krishna. That's the order. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, should I read?
Yeah, please, Tasneem, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Hi, guys. Good afternoon. When you arrive at this breaking point, the foot of the mountain, the heat of the fire, the night that finally wakes you, you are the crux of the breakdown. And if you're willing to do the work, you will find that it is the entryway to the breakthrough you have spent your entire life waiting for. Your old self can no longer sustain the life you are trying to lead. It is time for reinvention and rebirth. You must realize your old self, you must release your old self into the fire of your vision and be willing to think in a way you have never even tried before. You must mourn the loss of your younger self, the person who has gotten you this far but who is no longer equipped to carry you onward. You must envision and become one with your future self, the hero of your life that is going to lead you from here. The task in front of you is silent, simple, and monumental. It is a feat most do not ever get to the point of attempting. You must now learn agility, resilience, and self understanding. You must change completely, never to be the same again. The mountain that stands in front of you is the calling of your life, your purpose for being here, and your path finally made clear. One day, this mountain will be behind you. But who you become in the process of getting over it will stay with you always. Please, can you scroll the screen for me? Some more.
There's a line to read.
Where? Okay. In the end, it is not the mountain that you must master, but yourself. Chapter 1. The mountain is you. You have scrolled a little up. We have one paragraph.
No, that's starting here on.
Okay. There is nothing holding you back. Huh? You want me to read from here on the surface?
I think for her on this, the upper part is getting this thing hidden on her screen, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. The mountain is you. There is nothing holding you back in life more than yourself. If there is an ongoing gap between where you are and where you want to be, and your efforts to close it are consistently met with your own resistance, pain, and discomfort, self sabotage is almost always at work. On the surface, self sabotage seems, how do you pronounce this? Masochistic. Okay, masochistic. It appears to be a product of self hatred, low confidence, or a lack of willpower. In reality, self sabotage is simply the presence of an unconscious need that is being fulfilled by the self sabotaging behavior. To overcome this, we must go through a process of deep psychological excavation. We must pinpoint the traumatic event, released unprocessed emotions, find healthier ways to meet our needs, reinvent our self image, and develop principles such as emotional intelligence and resilience. It is no small task, and yet it is the work that all of us must do at one point or another. Self sabotage is not always obvious at the onset. When Carl Jung was a child, he fell on the ground in school and hit his head. When he got hurt, he thought to himself, yes, maybe I won't have to go back to school now. Though he is known today for his insightful body of work, he actually did not like school or fit in well with his peers. Shortly after his accident, Jung began experiencing sporadic and uncontrollable fainting spells. He unconsciously developed what he would call a neurosis and ultimately came to realize that all neuroses are substitutes for legitimate suffering. In Jung's case, he made an unconscious association between fainting and getting out of school. He came to believe that the fainting spells were a manifestation of his unconscious desire to get out of class, where he felt uncomfortable and unhappy. Likewise, for many people, their fears and attachments are very often just symptoms of deeper issues for which they do not have any better way to cope. Self sabotage is a coping mechanism. Self sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs, often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. Sometimes we sabotage our relationships because what we really want is to find ourselves. Though we are afraid to be alone, sometimes we sabotage our professional success because what we really want is to create art, even if it will make us seem less ambitious by society's measures. Sometimes we sabotage our healing journey by psychoanalyzing, psychoanalyzing. One moment, dear. Uh, yeah, psychoanalyzing our feelings because doing so ensures we avoid actually experiencing them. Sometimes we sabotage our self talk because we believed in ourselves. We would feel free to get back out in the world and take risk, and that would leave us vulnerable. In the end, self sabotage is very often just a maladap- maladaptive coping mechanism, a way we give ourselves what we need without having to actually address what that need is. But like any coping mechanism, it is just that, a way to cope. It's not an answer, it's not a solution, and it does not ever truly solve the problem. We are merely numbing our desires and giving ourselves a little taste of temporary relief. I can continue, but if anybody wants to read.
Yeah, I can do it. Thank you. Thank you, Tasanji.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Self-sabotage comes from irrational fear. Sometimes our most sabotaging behaviors are really the result of long-held and unexamined fears we have about the world and ourselves. Can you please scroll down? Yeah. Perhaps it is the idea that you are unintelligent, unattractive, or disliked. Perhaps it is the idea of losing a job, taking an elevator, or committing to a relationship. In other cases, it can be more abstract, such as the concept of someone coming to get you, violating your boundaries, getting caught, or being wrongly accused. These beliefs become attachments over time. For most people, the abstract one second. For most people, the abstract fear is really a presentation of a legitimate fear because it would be too scary to actually dwell on the real fear. We project those feelings onto issues or circumstances that are less likely to occur. If the situation has an extremely low likelihood of becoming reality, it therefore becomes a safe thing to worry about because subconsciously we already know it isn't going to happen. Therefore, we have an avenue to express our feelings without actually endangering ourselves. For example, if you are someone who is deeply afraid of being a passenger in a car, maybe your real fear is the loss of control or the idea that something else is controlling your life. Perhaps the fear is of moving forward, and the moving car is simply a representation of that. Can you please scroll down? Yeah. If you were aware of the real issue, you could begin working to resolve it. perhaps by identifying the ways you are giving up your power or being too passive. However, if you aren't aware of the real problem, you will continue to spend your time trying to convince yourself to not be triggered and anxious while riding in the car and find that it only gets worse. If you try to fix the problem on the surface, you will always come up against a wall. This is because you are trying to rip off a band-aid before you have a strategy to heal the wound. Self-sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations. Self-sabotage is also one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limiting, or simply incorrect. Your life is defined not only by what you think about it, but also what you think of yourself. Your self concept is an idea that you have spent your whole life building. It was created by piecing together inputs and influences from those around you. What your parents believed, what your peers thought, what became self evident through personal experience, and so on. Your self image is difficult to adjust because your brain's confirmation bias works to affirm your pre existing beliefs about yourself. When we self sabotage, it is often because we have a negative association between achieving the goal we aspire to and being the kind of person who has or does that thing. If your issue is that you want to be financially stable and yet you keep ruining every effort you make to get there, you have to go back to your first concept of money. How did your parents manage their finances? More importantly, what did they tell you about people who had it and people who didn't? Many people who struggle financially will justify their place in life by disavowing money as a whole. They will say that all rich people are they will say that all rich people are terrible. If you grew up with people who told you your entire life that people who have money are this way, guess what you are going to resist having? Your anxiety around the issue that you are self sabotaging is usually a reflection of your limiting belief. Maybe you associate being healthy with being vulnerable because you had a parent who was perfectly healthy when they suddenly fell ill. Maybe you aren't writing your magnum opus because you don't really want to write. You just want to be seen as successful because that will get you praise, which is typically what people revert to when they want acceptance but haven't gotten it. Maybe you keep eating the wrong foods because they soothe you, but you haven't stopped to ask what they have to keep soothing you from. Maybe you aren't really a pessimist, but you don't know how to connect with the people in your life other than by complaining to them. In order to reconcile this, you have to begin to challenge these pre existing ideas and then adopt new ones. You have to be able to recognize that not everybody with money is corrupt, not by a long shot. Even more importantly, given that there are people who use their money in selfish ways, it is even more important that good people with great intentions are fearless in pursuit of acquiring this essential tool to create more time, opportunity, and wellness for themselves and others. You have to recognize that being healthy makes you less vulnerable, not more, and that criticism comes with creating anything for the public and isn't a reason to not to do it. You have to show yourself that there are many different ways to self-soothe that are more effective than unhealthy food choices, and that there are far better ways to connect with others than through negativity. Once you begin to really question, observe, and observe these pre existing beliefs, you begin to see how warped and illogical they were all along, not to mention distinctly holding you back from your ultimate potential. Yeah, from here somebody can take.
Saurabh has also written a name, Saurabh and Rupali.
Saurabh has
Rupali
written
Ramya.
first. So Saurabh wants to continue, or may I?
Please go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
I took his quiet, so you start. Maybe after that we can ask him again.
Self sabotage comes from what's unfamiliar. Human beings experience a natural resistance to the unknown because it is essentially the ultimate loss of control. This is true even if what's unknown is benevolent or even beneficial to us. Self
Self-sabotage.
sabotage is very often the simple product of unfamiliarity, and it is because anything that is foreign, no matter how good, will also be uncomfortable until it is also familiar. This often leads people to confuse the discomfort of the unknown with being wrong or bad or ominous. However, it is simply a matter of psychological adjustment. Gay Hendricks calls this your upper limit or your tolerance for happiness. Everyone has a capacity for which they allow themselves to feel good. This is similar to what other psychologists refer to as person's baseline or their set predisposition that they eventually revert back to, even if certain events or circumstances shift temporarily. Small shifts compounded over time can result in permanent baseline adjustments. However, they often don't stick because we come up on our upper limits. The reason we don't allow those shifts to become baselines is because as soon as our circumstances extend beyond the amount of happiness, we find ways, both conscious and unconscious, to bring ourselves back to a feeling we are comfortable with. We are programmed to seek what we have known. Even though we think we are after a happiness, we are actually trying to find whatever we are most used to. Self sabotage comes from belief systems. What you believe about your life is what you will make true about your life. That's why it's so crucial to be aware of these outdated narratives and have the courage to change them. Maybe you have gone through the majority of your life believing that a standard 50K dollar per year salary at a decent company is the most you will ever be capable of. Maybe you have spent so many years telling yourself, I am an anxious person. You started to actually identifying with it, adopting anxiety and fear into your belief system about who you fundamentally are. Maybe you were raised in a closed minded social circle or an echo chamber. Maybe you did not know that you could question or arrive at new conclusions about politics or religion. Maybe you never thought you were someone who could have great style, feel content, or travel the world. In other cases, your limiting beliefs might come from wanting to keep yourself safe. Maybe that's why you prefer the comfort of what you have known to the vulnerability of what you don't. Why you, why you prefer apathy to excitement. Think that suffering makes you more worthy, or believe that for every good thing in life, there must also be an accompanying bad. To truly heal, you are going to have to change the way you think. You're going to have to become very conscious of negative and false beliefs and start shifting to a mindset that actually serves you. Next reader, please. Saurabh, you wanted to?
Yeah, sure. Uh, so maybe that's where I start. Oh, maybe this preliminary information about sabotage resonates a bit, or maybe it resonates a lot. Either way, if you are here because you truly want to change your life, you're going to have to stop being in denial about your personal state of affairs. You're going to have to get real with yourself. You're going to have to decide that you love yourself too much to stop settling for less than what you really deserve. If you think that you could be doing better in life, you might be right. If you think that there is more that you are here to accomplish, you might be right. If you think you're not being your authentic self, you might be right. It does not serve us to use endless affirmations to placate our true feelings about where we are in our journey. When we do this, we start disassociating and get stuck. In enough effort to love ourselves, we try to validate everything about who we are. Yet, those warm sentiments never quite seem to stick, only ever temporarily numbing the discomfort. Why don't they work? Because deep down, we know we are not quite being who we want to be. And until we accept this, we are never going to find peace. When we are in denial, we tend to go to blame mode. We look for anyone or anything to explain why we are the way we are. Then we start justifying. If you have to constantly, on a nearly daily basis, rationalize why you are unhappy about your life, you are not doing yourself any favors. You are not getting any closer to creating the lasting change that you deeply desire. The first step in healing anything is taking full accountability. It is no longer being in the denial about the honest truth of your life and yourself. It does not matter what your life looks like on the outside. It is how you feel about it on the inside. It is not okay to be constantly stressed, panicked, or and unhappy. Something is wrong, and the longer you try to love yourself out of realizing this, the longer you're going to suffer. The greatest act of self-love is not to no longer accept a life you're unhappy with. It is to be able to state the problem plainly and in straightforward manner. That is precisely what you need to do to continue truly uprooting your life and transforming it. It is first step towards real change. Taking a piece of paper and pen and write down everything you aren't happy with. Write down very specifically every single problem you face. If you are struggling with your finances, you need a very clear picture of what's wrong. Write down every debt, every bill, every asset, and every bit of income. If you are struggling with your self image, write down exactly what you dislike about yourself. If it is anxiety, write down everything that bothers you or upsets you. You must first and foremost get out of the denial and into clarity about what's really wrong. At this point, you have a choice. You can make peace or you can commit to changing. The, the lingering is what is keeping you stuck. The path begins right where you are now. Maybe the next speaker can take up from here.
Ramya.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
If you know that change needs to be made in your life, it's okay if you are far away from your goal or if you cannot yet conceive how you will arrive. It is okay if you are starting at the beginning. It is okay if you are at rock bottom and cannot yet see your way through. It is okay if you are at the foot of your mountain and have failed every time you have tried to overcome it. Rock bottom is very often where we begin on our healing journey. This is not because we suddenly see the light, not because of our worst days are magically transmuted into some type of epiphany, and not because someone saves us from our own madness. Rock bottom becomes a turning point because it is only at that point that most people think, I never want to feel this way again. That thought is not just an idea, it is a declaration and a resolution. It is one of the most life changing things you can ever experience. It becomes the foundation upon which you build everything else. When you decide you truly do not ever want to feel a certain way again, you set out on a journey of self awareness, learning, and growth that helps you radically reinvent who you are. In that moment, fault becomes irrelevant. You are no longer mulling over who did what or how you have been wrong. In that moment, only one thing guides you, and it is this: no matter what it takes, I will never accept my life getting to this point again. Rock bottom isn't a bad day. It doesn't happen by chance. We only arrive at rock bottom when our habits begin to compound upon one another. When our coping mechanisms have spiraled so out of control that we can no longer resist the feelings we were attempting to hide. Rock bottom is when we are finally faced with ourselves, when everything has gone so wrong. We are left to realize that there is only one common denominator through it all. We must heal, we must change, we must choose to turn around so that we will never feel this way again. When we have a down day, we don't think, I never want to feel this way again. Why? Because it is not fun, but it's also not unbearable. Mostly, though, we are somewhat aware that small failures are a regular part of life. We are imperfect, but trying our best, and that vague discomfort will pass eventually. We don't reach a breaking point because one or two things go wrong. We reach a breaking point when we finally accept that the problem isn't how the world is, it is how we are. This is a beautiful reckoning to have. Ayodeji Awokshika describes his own like this. You must find the purest form of being fed up. Make it hurt. I literally screamed. I'm not going to fucking live like this anymore. Human beings are guided by comfort. They stay close to what feels familiar and reject what doesn't, even if it's objectively better for them. Be this as it is. Most people do not actually change their lives until not changing becomes the less comfortable option. This means that they do not actually embrace the difficulty of altering their habits until they simply do not have another choice. Staying where they are is not viable. They can no longer even pretend that it is desirable in any way. They are, quite honestly, less at rock bottom and more stuck between a rock that's impinging on them and an arduous climb out from beneath it. If you really want to change your life, let yourself be consumed with rage, not toward others, not with the world, but within yourself. Get angry, determined, and allow yourself to develop tunnel vision with one thing and one thing only at the end, that you will not go on as you are. Preparing for radical change. One of the biggest reasons the people avoid doing important internal work is that they recognize if they heal themselves, their lives will change, sometimes drastically. If they come to terms with how unhappy they are, it means that they will have to temporarily be more uncomfortable, ashamed, or scared while they are start all over. Let's be clear about something. To put an end to your self-sabotaging behavior absolutely means that change is on the horizon. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone and your sense of direction. It's going to cost you your relationships and friends. It's going to cost you being liked and understood. It doesn't matter. The people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side. you are going to build a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward. Instead of being liked, you are going to be loved. Instead of being understood, you are going to be seen. All you are going to lose is what was built for a person you no longer are. Remaining attached to your old life is the first and final act of self-sabotage, and releasing it is what we must prepare for to truly be willing to see real change. So I will stop
Let's
here.
stop here. Yeah. Thanks everyone
Yeah,
for
thank
reading.
you.
Yeah. So we can reflect back on the introduction, the chapter 1, what stood out, what resonated, what felt like you have already gone through, what you could not connect. Even you can say what actually you disagree with the author. Yeah. So let's have that discussion. Anyone?
Hi, Manish Alvi. Hi, all.
Yeah.
Krishna
Krishna, go
here.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Author is telling about, we should not self sabotage. So, always we should come out of our comfort zone and we have to change ourselves. So, yeah, we have to change ourselves. We should be ready for that. And if we are against changing ourselves, then in that case, my author is considering us as a mountain, as a metaphor. So never do, never be, become a restriction for yourself. So always be the change, always be the change. And coming to me, I never, stop myself to try something new. So whenever there is some new thing to try, so always have a some that kind of interest, zeal, enthusiasm to try something new. To change something which I know to change something in my life. So always have that interest. So I never, I never stick to my past or some sentimental. Coming to my I don't have sentiments at all to my past. So I always want to try something new, something I want to learn, something I want to go ahead, something like that. Yeah. So because I'm never a mountain for myself in my life. There is no mountain at all. Future is completely free. Whenever I want to try something new, um, the path in front of me is clear. Anytime I can try something new. Yeah, thank you guys.
Right, Krishna. Good to hear that.
Yeah,
So the author is more
yeah,
talking about the aspects which can be at a subconscious or unconscious level, which we might not be aware.
yeah.
So all the author is trying to say is just bring in
Mm,
more awareness into your daily lives, because as she said that nature itself is imperfect. So there is always a scope that we can grow, we can improve than what we are doing right now. Now, when you said that you are, very, very, looking forward to future and give yourself the opportunity to, uh, you know, go or delve into many new things without hesitation.
yes,
You are ready to break your boundaries. That's a good thing. But here I would just like you to pause and maybe you can see whatever you experience today now, how you can enhance that. It is more the way you experience life, the more you look at things, your perception. So you might see certain patterns there where you can see that a small change can improve it maybe. So
yes,
just a suggestion. It's not that I want to say that we
yes.
all have certain kind of things. It's good if you don't
So
have mountains, but yes, but we all can
certain
get
things are
better.
yeah, certain things are routine.
Right. So you can
Maybe.
look at that,
Yes.
maybe the way you are
Yes.
experiencing things, the way you are looking at things today. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Krishna, for starting up the
Yeah.
discussion. Yeah. Anyone else
But
like to
what
follow up?
author is trying to say? So is considering the people who are self-sabotaging, and author is trying to tell them to change themselves. What exactly he want to say as for this, chapter one?
Right.
What is
Right.
it trying to say? My doubt.
So basically, the author is trying to say there is a way that you might think that things work out well because you go carry on with your routine life. But there might be certain things that only when situations go very worse or chronic, that you are made to face, that there are certain issues that you're trying to avoid, right? So when we go through our regular lives, we might build up coping mechanisms for things which we don't like. We start avoiding them, we start fearing them. So how does that create impact? It impacts maybe the other aspects of life as well, right? For an example, I remember a case where a person was very, he was afraid of heights, right? So that afraid of heights made him not step into any buildings where the floors were many, or it was high rise. He avoided looking down if he is in a tall, on top of some tall thing. And slowly, gradually, he started avoiding flights because of those things. So somewhere his experiences in life, the way he could look at choices or possibilities came down. So he was not aware that just the fear of heights was affecting his life so much, because we build around our lives around the fears that we have, right? So similarly, we will have some coping mechanism. Okay, I avoid this, I avoid that. But maybe your growth is into that. Your purpose of life is that. Basically, your soul calling may be that. So when you have to actually, face this situation, come in a very chronic situation, then you have to actually sit and think how I've been avoiding certain things, how I've been actually avoiding this, and not able to face my reality the way I am, and where improvement is possible. I have to find a way. So that is what the author is saying here. That there
Okay.
might be things which is unconscious to you right now, but which might be hampering your overall growth or the capacity or the possibility that you can become in life.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you, Manjali.
Yeah, thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes, good
May I go?
afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay,
please,
please go.
please.
Yeah, I like the starting introductory line that much like nature, life is very often working in our favor, even when it seems like we are only being faced with adversity, discomfort, and change. And the example of the forest fire was given that forest fire is also necessary for the ecology of the environment. Same as in life, our coping mechanisms, they become the tipping point of our breakthrough or breakdown. So yeah, that was my takeaway.
May
Great,
I?
Yeah,
Sunil. As always, you have brought the contrasting part of it to bring in to notice what the author actually means. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, Deepa.
yeah. Thank you, everyone. Hello, everyone. Um, so, what my take and is on this is that usually we are advised to have a broader vision of everything. Look at the bigger picture. So sometimes what happens is when we are looking at every aspect of whatever we are doing, so that might be one of the reasons of self sabotage, because we are looking at the negatives, the weaknesses, and whatever fear we have, and the reasons why we shouldn't do it. Instead of focusing on the overcoming the problem, sometimes we look at too many things, and in that case, it's better to have a narrow vision. Be focused on what we intend to do for our self growth or for our going beyond our limits. Because the limits we set for ourselves is only in our mind, not a reality. We are capable of doing whatever we want, whatever we desire, when we take a leap of faith. We are capable of doing anything and everything. So too much of thought, can limit us. That is one thing I have felt. And another thing is that if there is a problem, avoiding that problem, ignoring that problem is not the solution. Accepting the problem actually gives us a solution to the problem. When we accept that there is an issue, we know that we have to overcome that. That is another thing. And sometimes it is very important to hit the rock bottom place, to lose everything, because from that only we can reinvent ourselves, recreate ourselves, and bounce out and become bigger and better. So it's very important that we acknowledge that we have a problem so that we have a better way of looking at things and resolving it. And we have to sometimes have a tunnel vision, a narrowed down vision, so that we don't get into the negative area or the things which can terrify us. So we have to overcome our fear uh, to be successful. So sometimes being blinded to the negatives is important, maybe. Personally, I go with that theory, it works for me. And that theory, fear ke liye how we have to overcome is this Mountain Dew ka that logo is a tagline is there, no, डर के आगे जीत है. So we have to believe that that is a beautiful experience if we overcome that fear. And we have to overcome that fear by maybe accepting it, acknowledging it, so that we are more careful, and we find a way so that we don't fall, or even if we fall, what are the things we can do to overcome that fall. So that is my take on what we have read today. Thank you.
Thanks, Deepa. Yeah, Saurabh, I think, had raised his hand.
Today and the book's introduction today was the focus on the belief systems and how the author relates how we are self-sabotaging ourselves based on the beliefs that we are carrying, how we are uh, not ready for having any change, and how comfortable we are with the routine. And some examples of these belief systems that I have seen in the past, would include things like, people would stay in one job throughout their lives, and keep justifying that changing it will will not be good for the career, or there will be some other belief systems that they may have, that it's a challenging time. We won't If we leave this job, we don't know how the new workplace would be. The workplace is so uncertain. So because of that belief system, a lot of people would not switch jobs. Some people would never start businesses because they believe somewhere in the core that anybody who does a business, they do some other kind of fraud or forgery or whatever. So those kind of belief systems, always, yeah, always. Deepaji, I think you may want to go on mute. So those kind of belief systems are something that keep us from changing anything in our lives. And the last line actually summarizes it. Last line of the chapter one, where she says that remaining attached to your old life is the first and final act of self sabotage. So being so comfortable in our routine that we don't want to change, even simple things in life. That is something that is stopping all the growth that we can find in our lives. So being open for change is something that I would take away from this chapter one.
Okay, thanks, Saurabh, to talk about the belief system. Yes, its beliefs are something which make you understand what you can and cannot do. So if you're identifying with something which is stopping you from achieving your goal, then you might have to relook with that. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. So Mansi, you want to go next?
Yeah, yeah. I love the introduction and I love the book. I'm already loving it. And in fact, the first I feel that this has come as the right time for me as always. And for me, And now that we are at the end of the year, and we are also working on the 12-week year thing, working on that, Maniselvi. So on that context, I was also very keen on how would I want to end it, and working on many things like that. So I feel this book is the perfect start for the last 2 months that are left with us. And for me, especially few points that striked out was the self-sabotage chapter. That was wonderful, which also highlighted some part of like from NLP what we learn about every intention, every action has a positive intention. So somewhere I remembered that, and in many places it's important that we dig down deeper and understand our patterns, because many a times our patterns are formed because they're serving something in us. And it also reminded me of like how a seed or a diamond, everything evolves under pressure, and that's a law of nature, right? Like when anything is not growing, it has to go away. Like if a tree is not growing, if it is not adjusting to the surrounding or something, it becomes dead. And many a times they say that people, many people, like they are living 75, for example, if they're living for 75 years, they're living 75 years of their life the same day every day. So I think that's not how nature wants us to be. They want us to evolve, and any struggles or any hardships that come in our life, they are actually meant for us to evolve, and they act as trigger. There was this line, right, somewhere in the chapters that we read, and also there was this line where sometimes we call it as self love. So so basically what I understood from today's reading is, many a times we settle for our ordinary self, when we are actually capable of so much more. And we know, like deep within, we know we have that craving of becoming something, doing something, but we somewhere self sabotage, or we somewhere suppress it in the attempt of it's okay, chalta hai type. So I felt the book started with a tone for that, and that's a wonderful. I just loved it. Thank you for picking this book for us, and thank you everyone for such wonderful shares and contribution. So I'm totally loving it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mansi, for clarifying that NLP angle also. Yes, many points are there which we can relate to it. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Tasneem, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Just a quick question. Why are we all not opening up the videos? Am I also to switch off the video?
It's open to each one of us based on their
Acha.
comfort, because we are
Okay.
logging in from job and all that.
Okay.
So we are not making it mandatory. It's okay
Okay.
if you are comfortable. Yeah.
Don't be
Okay.
uncomfortable. If you're comfortable switching, keeping it on, please be. Some of us who would want to accompany Tasneem, please do. Most of us are comfortable keeping it off. That's the reason, and there is no
Okay.
restriction on that. So you can
Oh,
choose.
okay. Fair enough. Thank you so much. So, on a fun note and a little understanding, this book is really very, very interesting. Thank you so much. But the way I mean, everything that has been discussed in this first chapter has been highlighted by everybody. I like to share something that I do with myself to remove myself from my old beliefs or the thought process or whatever has been holding me back. What I started doing, and this happened to me with one of the experience that I had with one of my other colleague while we were in some other kind of a program. So he asked me my age, and at that time I was in my 40s. I told him I'm 4 years old. So he's saying, why are you saying 4 years old? So I said, I am going to be 4 years old for a decade. And then he started laughing. And then he told me one good thing. He told me that, you know what, Tasneem, when you say that you are 4 year old, your brain also works and behaves like that. So when you are a 4 year old or a 5 year old, what you want to do is you're more inquisitive. You want to know more about things. You do not hold any emotions, anything. You fight with your friend and you are again back with the same friend playing. You want to, you just want to keep on trying new things and explore and things like that. So this is what has helped me. Now that I'm in my 50s, when somebody asks what is your age, I say I'm 5 year old. And I say that I will be this for the next decade. So if you ask me next year also, I'm still going to be 5 years old. So for 5 years old, I'll take 10 years to be 5 years old, and I'll explore and learn and, evolve and do everything. So when you are a child, you don't really think of anything to be an obstacle. You are just exploring, you are inquisitive, you want to know everything that is happening around you. So I think if we change our mindset, because they spoke about our upbringing and the way we have our mindsets, if we change our mindset and bring ourselves back to being a 4 year old or a 5 year old or a 6 year old or a 30 year old, I mean 3 years old, you will have a lot to learn. You will keep yourself open minded. You will enjoy life the way a 3 year old or a 4 year old or a 5 year. And I've decided when I become 100 also, if at all, if I live for that long, I'll call myself 1 year old again. So, yeah, just on a lighter note, I wanted to share this with all of you.
Great, Tasneem, to bring in that energy and in the lightness. We all feel a couple of decades less older. Thanks to you for that. And yeah, so nice way of putting it. Yeah, it's how you identify yourself with, and as you said, the mindset that you hold. Can you solve your problems, or you get hit down by every other problem that comes up? Yeah. Thanks, Tasneem. Anyone else? Okay. So yeah, so certain things which interested me, or made me actually think a bit, is the points that normally as life goes on, we are never. I think Saurabh also touched upon that point, that if you get into a job and you really get, you get a coping mechanism of just adjusting to things and not look at the possibilities that you have. So you might continue into that job just for security, just to be not venture into something which is unfamiliar, and bind yourself and do whatever you are doing. So your growth is not possible. Maybe you might not be even able to enjoy life the way you could enjoy. So the thing is, maybe we'll get programmed into a way that this is how life is, and we will build in our limits of our lives based on that. So the author is saying, look at your belief system. What are you believing? Look at the system. Look at things that you are identifying yourself with. Look at the patterns which reflect. When you do something, what does it reflect? What is the inner need that is getting fulfilled? So it's more like understanding yourself better, looking for patterns which actually are patterns where you end up into the same problem again and again and again, and you don't seem to uh, have a possibility that you can get out of it. So basically, it's more of understanding yourself better, look for better things in life. Now when normally in life we don't reflect, or maybe I don't reflect that much, but yes, as the author says, there are situations where life makes us look into these things, makes us look into what you actually are, makes you face the things that you're avoiding to face. So once a person comes to that juncture, that is in case where there are certain issues which has become a chronic, because over the period you have neglected some part of you, maybe you are denying some part of you, or some part of you has not healed, or some part of you has not reconciled with reality, that is reality is so and so, but you keep denying it for yourself. So if these things go on for a prolonged time, the compounding effects make it into a chronic issue, and then finally you'll have to face it. But to face it, you'll have to stop denying that there is a problem. Take responsibility is what the author says, and look at the problem plainly instead of giving it shades and bringing your biases into play. Gain more clarity as to when, why, how these things occur, the circumstances where the issue seems to be there. And it's okay that you might not be able to immediately come out of it, but at least make an attempt is what stood out for me. Actually, I remember reading a book by Richard Bandler, who is the co-creator of NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. He had said that if there has to be a change be it from trauma, be it any kind of a bad experience, the person has to get fed up with that problem. The person has to hit the limit that beyond which he is not ready to carry that burden, he is not ready to face the same issue, and he's really wanting to get relieved of the problem. So we have to finally face ourselves. That is what again this book has said. Also, I remember reading a book called The Let Them Theory, in which it also openly says that we always see that the world outside has a problem. We have to fix the world outside so that our problems are resolved. But this book entirely talks about the problems that we have to fix within, right? And we have to look within to do that. So it was nice reading with you all, and for all this, interesting shares and discussion. So, does anybody want to add anything here? Okay, thanks. Then we'll call it a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining. We'll join back
Yeah, a
tomorrow.
beautiful
Same time.
start. Beautiful start to a new book. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Maniselvi.
wonderful
Thank you.
experience.
Thank
One
you.
more
Thank you.
request, yeah, today I think Deepa and Pallavi has written their names for reading. So tomorrow, if you can just join in early, maybe we can start with you, the reading like Mani Sylvie and all of you. And also,
Yeah, we'll try.
I request everyone to please join in regularly. So you guys, we always finish the books we start on this platform. So it would be a great thing if we can just do it together. And I would request everyone to please be consistent and join in for the book throughout till the end. Yes, that's the only thing. Thank you. Manisalvi, thank you so much. It was a wonderful initiative and beginning.
Yeah. Thank you everyone. Chalo. See you tomorrow then. Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you.